Hi, my name is Leehee Goldenberg. I'm a lawyer and a policy expert specializing in environmental policy. I work on a variety of issues regarding air, industry, economy, energy, and taxation of natural resources. Things that affect normal people's everyday life, their health, their environment, and their wallet. I mean, it's always funny to think of yourself as a professional activist, right? But I definitely see the effects that what I do on a society, B on communities, and definitely on policy. So I think despite being a lawyer, I can definitely define myself as an activist. I think I was born caring about the world. My mother didn't specifically work in activism, let's call it, but she always thought it was important to make a difference in everyone's life. And I think because of that everyday behavior that we saw in my family, I kind of felt like it was my role to try and change the world. I moved to Israel in my early 20s and went to Hebrew U. And then also during my studies, I ended up taking a course in international law, and that course kind of changed my life. Law was the way for me to make a difference. And at some point there was a position available at an NGO called Adam Teva V'Din, which is an environmental NGO. It was kind of a bit of a dream come true. The first time I was ever in court, which was terrifying, was in a Supreme Court case with 9 judges and the Prime Minister of Israel. A lot of the policy changes I was able to make in the government and with the Knesset ended up starting from court cases, right? Like, I've been quite lucky that I was involved in 2 major cases. The oil refineries in Haifa were built in the 1930s by the British when Haifa was a barren land. In 2021, when the population of Haifa is about 500,000 people. They're still smack dab in the middle of Haifa. 2012, they submitted a request to expand their size to become much, much bigger and produce more. And they didn't want to tell anyone how they were going to do it. So we decided to submit an objection, and unfortunately we lost case after case in the planning and construction committees. The Supreme Court actually was able to turn this decision around, and for me that was one of my most significant court cases. The Dead Sea is kind of like my baby, I feel. Like, with the main focus being the work of the industry in the Dead Sea and the effect that industry has on the Dead Sea. They have a significant effect on what's happening in the Dead Sea, and they do it for profit, right? So one of in my opinion, biggest court case wins is actually in what's called the Water Tribunal. Its job is to make sure that Israel's water law applies properly to anyone who uses water. So we decided to take the water law and say to the Water Tribunal, this law should apply to the Dead Sea as well. And at first, of course, everyone said we were crazy, but at the end of the day, the Water Tribunal decided that we were right. So luckily for us, the court decided they should limit the amount of water that the Dead Sea Works use from the Dead Sea. And now I'm trying to work on actually having them pay for the water they use. I'm moving to be a policy advisor at Shatil, which is a human rights organization. For me, environmental and human rights issues are intertwined with one another. Climate change is on the front page of every single newspaper. It's very difficult to make environment bigger than economics. A climate refugee issue, which is expecting, thousands upon thousands of refugees to come from Africa, will be a huge issue for here in Israel. So I'm hoping to take my work forward into the world of human rights and to make a change like that.